Greetings, Microscopists. This is Eric Miller from Instructinate, and today we're going to be reacting to an episode of Doctor Who from 1976 titled The Hand of Fear, and starring the man, the myth, the legend himself, Tom Baker. So in this story, the Doctor and Sarah Jane land in a quarry and immediately get buried in a demolition explosion, which is totally something that people can survive. When they dig Sarah Jane out from the rubble, she's clinging to a stone hand, which goes on to take over her mind and absorb a bunch of radiation from a nuclear power plant and turns into Eldrad. But we don't care about that. The Doctor starts examining the hand with a guy in the pathology lab of the hospital they were taken to, and this is what we came to see. He's using a light microscope with an interesting viewing screen. You see, in the olden days, your light microscope had no digital camera or any other type of video camera that you could hook up to a TV screen. If you wanted to display the microscope image to multiple people or to take a still image, you needed this kind of frosted glass projection screen. So they check out a piece of the hand on the screen and they note that it's crystalline and therefore not biological, and the lab guy tells the Doctor to go find a geologist. The weird thing about this sample and the image, which took me several viewings to notice, is that this looks like a transmitted light microscope, not a reflected microscope that you would normally use to look at polished metal samples. We can also see here that there's just a regular glass slide on the stage. This means that this crystalline-looking sample would have to have been sectioned in some sort of microtome to be able to be light transparent and viewable like this. Sectioning non-biological or mineral samples is absolutely not something any pathology lab would be equipped to handle. While this is all kind of weird, it's done specifically to further the story because we need to know that the hand is crystalline and more specifically silicon-based. At this point, the Doctor wants to know where he can get his hands on an electron microscope, and here is where it gets good. Somehow, the Doctor is able to get hold of a scanning electron microscope from the virology department, and instead of just using the instrument where it is, he uninstalls it, drags it across the hospital, and reinstalls it into the pathology department, which is a super huge pain to do, but hey, he's Tom Baker and he does what he wants. So the pathologist takes a scraping off the hand and then puts it on a stub and then into the SEM stage. So let's watch this for a second here. This is a real SEM stub with some stuff on it, and it seems likely the actor is actually doing all this manipulation because it's pretty clumsy. They don't seem to have the correct tweezers to hold the stub, and he ends up smashing the surface of the sample, which is just horrific to watch. The neat part about this is this old SEM. If anyone watching knows the make and model of this guy, please leave a comment about it below. Old SEMs used to have very small sample chambers and very small stages. So to keep things simple, the door with the stage attached to it came completely off of the microscope. Now, on a modern microscope, that's not very feasible as the door and the stage might weigh 100 to 200 pounds or 45 to 90 kilos, but as we can see here, this whole assembly probably only weighs 2 or 3 pounds. At this point, Sarah Jane, under the control of the hand, comes in, steals the hand, and zaps the pathologist guy into unconsciousness, which I do have to say is a fairly regular occurrence when working around alien artifacts. Now, finally, the Doctor shows back up and we get to see the SEM in action. Great Scott! What does the hand look like under the SEM? It looks like a TEM grid. A bit lumpy, certainly by modern standards, but it is a TEM grid nonetheless. I have to say a TEM grid, which is just a 3mm copper disc with a very fine mesh in the center, is probably the most common sample you end up seeing in entertainment when an SEM is being discussed. So why is that? I have no idea, other than they're probably just laying around the lab and they're easy to image. Also, since they have a nice regular structure to them, it's easy to say it's some sort of technology something or other. Anyway, this was just a quick SEM appearance in classic Doctor Who, and while it is fairly simple, I think overall it was very good. The SEM wasn't doing anything crazy or outside the bounds of reality, so I'm pretty happy with that. I just wish we could have seen something a little bit more than a TEM grid. Now, if you know of any movies or TV shows where an electron microscope shows up, let me know about it in the comments. This is Eric Miller from Instructinate. Thanks. We'll see you next time.